First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Good evening and welcome to First at 5 from WUFT News. I'm Jacob Sedesse. Thank you for joining us. If you're traveling this Thanksgiving holiday, you definitely won't be alone. Trains, planes, and roads will be quite busy over the next few days. AAA predicts nearly 55 million people will leave home this holiday, mostly by car or plane. Record snowfall last week brought mass cancellations and delays for flyers, but there's hope for brighter days ahead. Airlines say they've staffed up for what's expected to be the third busiest Thanksgiving travel season in over 20 years, falling just shy of pre-pandemic levels.
We're definitely in better shape than we were this summer. I was extremely concerned about the delays and cancellations we saw in the early part of the summer.
Experts say the busiest times for air travel are today, Wednesday, and Sunday. On the roads, Wednesday and Thanksgiving Day will be the busiest. Drivers are giving thanks that gas prices dropped 11 cents nationally in the last week, according to AAA, but that's still higher than previous Thanksgivings. Now, of course, those snowfall delays won't impact us here in Florida, but weather is definitely a factor in making those Thanksgiving Day travel plans. That brings us to our very own Derrah with the weather forecast. Derrah, when are you planning on getting on the road, and do you think this overcast weather outside should be of concern of drivers?
Well, I won't be getting on the road until tomorrow morning, but I don't think this overcast is anything to be concerned about. We were tracking a few showers earlier today along the East Coast, and there is a risk for flooding for them. But right now you can see some still very dense cloud cover in the sky. It feels like 66 out, and over the next couple of hours we're going to be cooling down into the low 60s. There is a 20% chance of rain overnight tonight. I'll have more on that, as well as what temperatures we'll be seeing coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
Thanks, Derrah. The jury is now deliberating in the trial of top members of the Oath Keepers charged after the Capitol riot. The charges include seditious conspiracy, a Civil War-era charge rarely used since, which could trigger long prison sentences if convicted. The 5 people on trial include Denellen's Kelly Meggs, whose wife Connie will be tried in a different batch. Testimony pointed to Meggs as the leader of the Florida chapter of Oath Keepers, and prosecutors say Kenneth Harrelson of Titusville served as his right-hand man on January 6th. A Florida man faces charges for firing shots while causing an angry scene inside a Flagler County bar. His bail is set at more than $500,000. Other customers helped subdue the gunman before he fled the scene. Reporter Gail Paschal Brown obtained body cam and security footage, which shows the intense moments.
Put your hands high in the air right now. Right now, high in the air so I can see them. Do not reach down. Do you understand me?
Flagler County Sheriff's deputies say they found Connor Anderson in a parking lot not far from Smiles nightclub in Bunnell.
Do not put your hands down for any reason. Let me make that very clear.
The Palm Coast man was arrested after investigators say he fired a gun inside Smiles nightclub on Palm Harbor Village just after midnight Sunday.
Somebody let dispatch know he says he's got the gun underneath his right side.
Witnesses say Anderson had been at the bar with a female customer when he became upset about being unable to find his car keys. Witnesses also say he left the bar, then came back with a gun, put the female in a headlock, and held the gun to her head. Other customers rushed over and tried to disarm Anderson, whom detectives say fired 6 times towards several other patrons. You can see the debris flying in the bar's security camera.
Hands straight out, just keep them out. You understand me?
They're not going anywhere.
Deputies say Connor Anderson was still armed with a 9mm Glock handgun when he was taken into custody without incident.
Yeah, let me know what you got to talk to. I got a pocket rifle in my right pocket.
I see it. Don't worry about it, bud. I got it. I got it right here. No worries.
Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley commented on the case. He said violence is never the answer and alcohol and guns never mix well. And by all accounts, when a gunman opened fire inside another packed nightclub, Club Q, it was absolute chaos. But for an Army veteran named Richard Fierro, there was no waiting or wondering what to do. NBC's Morgan Chesky reports that when Fierro's family's life was at stake, he took action.
I just know I got into mode and I needed to save my family. And that family was, at that time, everybody in that room.
It was a battlefield Richard Fierro couldn't have imagined. A beloved club where he came with his wife, daughter, her boyfriend, and friends for a drag show. But when the first bullets started flying, the 15-year Army vet who served 4 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, felt his instincts kick in.
It's the reflex. Go. Go to the fire. Stop the action. Stop the activity. Don't let no one get hurt.
Charging through the chaos, Fierro said he tackled a gunman who was wearing full body armor, knocking a rifle out of his hands, then wrestling away a handgun, using it to beat the shooter. He says he even enlisted the help of a drag performer at the club.
I told her, kick this guy, and she took her high heel and stuffed it in his face.
But Fierro wasn't able to save his daughter's 22-year-old boyfriend, Raymond Green Vance, who died in the attack.
He's a good kid, man, and I loved him.
I have never encountered a person who had engaged in such heroic actions that was so humble about it.
The accused 22-year-old gunman has been arrested on 5 counts of first-degree murder, as well as several hate-related charges. We're also learning more about the other lives cut short in Saturday night's senseless shooting, 5 in all. Kelly Loving, a 40-year-old trans woman, is described by a friend as compassionate, generous, and trusting. Derek Rump and Daniel Aston were beloved bartenders at Club Q.
It's just a nightmare that you can't wake up from.
Ashley Paw leaves behind a husband and an 11-year-old daughter. Her sister, Stephanie Clark, telling NBC News their family is devastated. Ed Sanders, one of 17 people wounded in the attack, grateful to be alive.
I want people to show some love to the LGBT people. We deserve the respect and the love like anyone does.
I really hope people kind of use this and shake someone's hand, give someone a hug, give them a kiss. These are good people, man. These were all kids.
Extreme gratitude. That's what club co-owner Nick Gerska has for Fierro. Tuesday, Fierro said he and others subdued the 22-year-old man accused of opening fire inside the gay bar Saturday night.
What do you want to say, Nick?
I just can't say thank you enough. I'm just so happy you were there. You're an angel to many people in this community.
According to a court docket, alleged shooter Anderson Aldrich is facing numerous charges, including murder. Fierro has become a hero to many. And many illnesses are going around right now, but you might have a tough time finding a remedy. I'll tell you why up next. And later, I'll give you a preview of your holiday shopping season. And spoiler alert, you might want to start shopping now. All that and more when First at 5 returns.
You're watching Wuft-TV News.
Welcome back to First at 5. As cold and flu season kicks into high gear, finding the right medication might be tough. Health officials say there is a severe shortage of products including Tamiflu and certain antibiotics, which are used to treat issues like the flu, sore throats, and ear infections. According to the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, it's not a manufacturing problem. Demand is higher than usual for this time of year. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says more than half of the country has either high or very high classifications for respiratory virus activity. The holiday shopping season is ramping up toward Black Friday and Cyber Monday. The National Retail Federation predicts this could be the busiest holiday shopping season in 5 years. That's despite historic inflation and looming recession fears. Jen Sullivan takes a closer look at what you can expect this weekend and how shopping centers and business owners are gearing up in Consumer Watch.
Holiday cheer reaching historic levels. According to the National Retail Federation, an estimated 166.3 million people are planning to shop from Thanksgiving Day through Cyber Monday. That's almost 8 million more than last year.
Today's shopper is very savvy when it comes to shopping around and finding what works best for them.
South Coast Plaza in Orange County, California is ready. The shopping center expects to break records this year in terms of foot traffic and spending. Executive Director of Marketing Deborah Gunn Downing says that's despite inflation, growing recession fears, and soaring interest rates on credit cards.
We're seeing people overcoming that because they want to do something special this season. We're forecasting a really strong finish to the year, so we will achieve over $2 billion in sales this year, a record.
The NRF says some Americans will likely cut back on other things. They're being more strategic when it comes to hunting for deals and comparing prices, but they still want to get into the holiday spirit after missing out during the pandemic.
They may be dipping into some savings. We know that some households were able to build up a fair amount of savings during the pandemic or through some of the stimulus programs that were in place.
Meanwhile, small business owners like Allison Ash say this is a critical weekend for her store, The Wrapper, and says shoppers are buying early and still shopping local.
Even if there's a recession, people want to make it happy and they want to do whatever they can to, make sure their family has a good time.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
The prediction is that holiday sales will be up 6 to 8% over last year. But first, the countdown is on for the 2022 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Let's take a look at a few of Thursday's performers rehearsing in front of Macy's Herald Square, the final destination of the 2.5-mile parade path. This year's parade, the 96th annual, will feature 10 performance groups, 16 giant character balloons, 28 floats, 40 novelty and heritage inflatables, 12 marching bands, 700 clowns, and of course, Santa Claus. Derrah, I've seen the wind ruin more than a few of those Macy's parade balloons in my life. Do you usually watch the parade?
I do. I get up early every year to watch it. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I also love going for walks with my family on Thanksgiving Day. That's one of my plans. Do you think the weather will hold up for that?
I think we're going to be seeing a dry Thanksgiving, but rain will be moving in overnight into your early Black Friday shopping. I'll have more on that, as well as the temperatures we're going to be seeing coming up after the break.
You're watching Wuft-TV News.
So far today, the lowest temperatures we've seen have been in the upper 50s, and temperatures right now are not looking much different. We're just shy of 10 degrees warmer at 66 in Gainesville and 70s south. Over the next couple of hours, we're going to be cooling down into the low 60s tonight. We're also tracking some rain moving in overnight tonight. Your low temperature in Gainesville is 60, upper 50s in the surrounding areas. South of Gainesville, warming up by just a few degrees, will be in the low to mid 60s as we get closer to the villages. Right now, there's still some pretty dense cloud cover outside on your campus cam. It feels like 66 degrees out, and there is a light breeze starting to pick up. The current wind speed's 13 miles per hour right now. As you plan your day on Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies in the morning, with another light breeze beginning to pick up again in the afternoon. We're going to be staying cool tomorrow with our high temperature barely 60 degrees in Gainesville, 69 in Gainesville, with things feeling a little bit warmer to the west. We're going to be seeing up to ½ an inch of rain in Gainesville through Friday, with heavier rain southeast of us. Gainesville or Daytona Beach could be seeing up to 3 inches of rain through Friday. Here are the showers that we're tracking moving in overnight tonight. You can see lots of heavy rain along I-4 south of Daytona Beach, and there is going to be some heavy rain along the coast, which can pose the risk for some flooding. So if you're making any traveling plans to those areas, be mindful of that, as well as some heavier rain in Gainesville overnight tonight along I-75. Things are going to continue to stay wet until early tomorrow morning with a few stray showers, but it looks like by lunchtime we're going to be all dried up. The rest of this week, temperatures are going to be warming up quite a bit. 81 degrees on Friday, and we're tracking more rain moving in this weekend, as well as a cold front on Sunday, pushing temperatures back into the low 70s next week. Back to you.
Thanks, Derrah. Now we've got Taylor here from sports. Taylor, it was a tough loss for the Gators against Vanderbilt over the weekend.
Yes, it took many by surprise, but the Gators now have to look ahead for this weekend's matchup against Florida State. Tune in to find more after the break.
You're watching Wuft-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Taylor Burr. The Gator football team continues their short week of work with the final game of the regular season Friday night against Florida State. UF will leave on Thanksgiving for the short trip west, but don't have that much to be thankful for, coming off their disappointing upset loss at Vanderbilt. Offensively, Florida got off to a slow start. Quarterback Anthony Richardson registered 0 carries against the 93rd ranked run defense in college football in the first half. The mistakes were many. There were 5 dropped passes, a special teams fumble, and the offensive line allowed 14 pressures, all contributing to the upset loss. Head coach Billy Napier continues to move forward and look ahead into this weekend's game.
Simply put, a lot of lessons to learn from our experience in Nashville. The laundry list of things that contributed to not playing winning football was way too long, right? And certainly as the head coach, all those things are my responsibility. We certainly could do a lot of things better. Simply put here, we got to get up off the ground, dust ourselves off, and get back to work. Fight for each other, work hard for each other. Quickly turn the page here in a short week to get ready against a really good Florida State team.
The Gators lost to Vanderbilt for only the 2nd time in school history. The only other defeat to the Commodores occurred in 1988. Florida is now 6-5 going into Friday, and game time is set for 7 p.m. Switching to the hardwood, the UF women's basketball team continues its nearly perfect start, beating Furman 77-50 last night. The 27-point victory improves head coach Kelly Ray Finley's Gators to 4-1 on the early season. UF jumped on the visiting Paladins, quickly led by sophomore guard Alberte Rimdel, who scored a career high of 19 points to lead the Victors. Florida will look to build off this win and play Green Bay Thanksgiving afternoon at MacArthur Center in St. Petersburg. Tip time is 2 p.m. The UF men's basketball team travels to Xavier on Thursday. Xavier head coach Sean Miller once again has the Musketeers playing at a high level, and Xavier enjoys one of the best home court advantages in all of college football with a crazy home crowd. As always, Colin Castleton will be the key for Florida. The senior is off to an incredible start, leading the SEC in scoring at over 25 points per game. In high school sports, several football teams in the area are competing in round 3 of the state high school playoffs this Friday. Buchholz will play Barnum Trail, PK Young will take on Trinity Catholic at 7:30, Columbia will play Chehaughee at 7 o'clock, Bradford will take on Baker County. After an excellent win last week against Eastside, the Tornadoes hope to keep their momentum up. Hawthorne is currently on a 9-game winning streak. The Hornets play against Pahokee, and lastly, Union County will take on Lafayette. All games are set for 7 p.m. The group stage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup continued today, and 8 teams finished up for the day as we take a look at the results. Earlier, Mexico faced Poland, Denmark played Tahanashi. Both resulted in a scoreless tie. We finally saw some action later on in the day. Saudi Arabia shocked Lionel Messi and Argentina in a 2-1 victory. And lastly, France defeated Australia 4-1 to end the day.
Thank you, Taylor. Before we go, Derrah, can you give us one last check on that weather?
Well, this evening we're going to continue to be seeing cloudy skies with a light breeze picking up overnight tonight, and that chance for showers increasing night tonight. The rest of this week, temperatures are going to be increasing 81 degrees on Friday, and we're tracking more rain moving in this weekend. So if you have any travel plans or commuting to and from work, be mindful that you could encounter a stray shower or thunderstorm, with temperatures moving back into the low 70s next week. Back to you.
Thanks again, Derrah. BBC World News is next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7. First at 5 will be off the air for the rest of the week as students go home to their families.
Make sure to stay safe if you're out on the roads and headed out of town.
And if you're not going to the Florida State game, tune in Monday to see the highlights.
But remember, your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night and happy Thanksgiving.